Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Hey, Delora, we are back. How are you today?
I'm doing good. God is good. So, life be lifing, but at the end of the day, we're here and I'm excited. I'm also listening to this instrumental Pitbull song from Bridgerton.
So you've gone hard on the soundtrack for part 1 of season 3, sounds like.
I go hard on every season of Bridgerton when it comes to the soundtrack. Legit, I have a whole playlist called Brain Music, and it's actually comprised of my favorite instrumental orchestra songs. So I have the theme song to The Crown for Interstellar. It's called Cornfields. That song is perfection in like 2.5 minutes. It's entirely too short. And then my boo, Chris Bowser, the composer of a lot of movies and TV shows, but the one that matters in this conversation is Bridgerton. But he also was the composer to like Space Jam and Green Book.
Space Jam? Wow. Okay.
Girl, he's been working. Highly intelligent. My internet BFF, because he reposted me and thanked me for listening to him. You know how you do your annual like most listened to? He was in my top 3.
The most exciting, I remember, moment for me with you with your pop culture mentions is when you were like read off on E! News, and I was like, Delora, do you know they just like, it was like they were like Aaron, I think one of them like read off one of your tweets. I was like, Delora.
My other boo, Justin Sylvester, yes.
That was crazy. And I was like at
Daily
my
Pop
height
or something
of E! News watching. And I was like,
yes.
Did they just say Delora S. Dot? Like, are you kidding me?
They sure did.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was wild.
What a time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of life be life, and I did want to just take a minute to acknowledge my friends and family and the loss of my cousin Kobe tragically in a car accident this week. So I just wanted to send my love and thoughts to, especially the immediate family, his wife, his children, absolutely, my cousin, his father, to lose someone so young and so senselessly is just shocking. And I think I'm still personally in shock and processing everything. And so I can only imagine, kind of what they're feeling and going through as, everybody's kind of hearing about it. So I just wanted to take a minute and acknowledge that and just, don't forget to cherish life because it's fleeting and you never know what can happen. So cherish this time with your friends and family and loved ones and even with yourself, because you just never know what can happen tomorrow. So
true.
Just wanted to take that moment and dedicate this to him. He was one of the first people who reached out when we started the podcast, like, hey, we should talk. Want to have you on the station. And I'm like, okay, let's get our bearings and we can regroup, but he was always just that person, so supportive, so sweet. I always call him Jack of all trades because I don't think there was anything he ever wanted to do that he did not actively pursue. And so I even said in my kind of tribute to him on social media, I take comfort in knowing that he lived his life so joyfully, and he really, really did. So, just send your thoughts and prayers to my family. I would so appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we will get into some things today because it is our usual headlines and hot topics episode. So, Delora, we have a few things in headlines and a couple things in hot topics. We are going to start off with celebrities and politics, because someone that I didn't see coming has endorsed Trump publicly, Amber Rose. Not that I've ever necessarily been some big Amber Rose watcher or fan, but I thought I knew kind of where she fell on the spectrum, possibly of her political beliefs based on the slut walk and her
Absolutely.
interviews she's done, and just the things that seems like she has stood for over the years. But she on Monday posted a photo with Trump and Melania saying Trump 2024. I'm reading an article from The Root whose headline is Feminist Amber Rose supports non-feminist Donald Trump, and social media has all the shade. Okay, they went back and pulled some things that she said previously, including the fact that she said back in 2016 that she was planning to leave the country if Donald Trump won the 2020 election, right? So now she's commenting when people are saying stuff in the shade room saying, LMAOOO, y'all think Biden cares about Black people? Sad. Do your research. Idea. I'll always put women first. Y'all want biological men and women's sports. Trump supports the most reasonable compromise on abortion. Stop being brainwashed because we're people of color. Make your own decisions. Delora, what were your thoughts on this kind of seeming flip on Amber Rose? And do you really take much stock into celebrities and their political opinions?
So when I saw pictures of Amber Rose hanging out with Trump, I was like, oh, okay. Do I put much stock? It depends on the celebrity, to be honest. To say, oh, no, I don't, that's like one thing. And what I mean by stock for me personally, it's like, how influential is this individual? What do they typically stand for? There's bars here, and Amber
Yep.
Rose is nowhere near the bar for me,
Agreed.
And in all honesty, it feels like she might be getting a check. Because to make that 180 and be so enthusiastic about it, it smells fishy to me.
I completely agree with your thought about influence, right? I don't think Amber Rose doesn't bother me. Now, if I'm honest, I'm still shocked and appalled that this is the stance that she's taking, because again, it
Yes,
just seems like such a reversal on what I've seen and known her to be. Like, has she started hanging with Kanye again? Like, I just don't know where this thought
exactly.
process is coming from. Like, what rapper are you effing at the moment that maybe has influence? I don't know. Like, it feels like we're being blindsided by who we've known her to be. But in terms of public sway, in my opinion, she has none. So for that, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I remember on an episode of Higher Learning, they were asking, like, who would move the needle? Who would you be like shocked and appalled? And it came down to Van saying Michael Jordan and Rachel saying LeBron. And I agree with both of those, right? The level of
No,
influence,
not for me. They are too wealthy for me to care. Jordan
for
especially would
me,
absolutely vote Republican, and that would not shock me
it wouldn't shock
in
me
the
if he voted
least.
Republican, but it would still shock me if he voted for Trump. But I will say, in
True.
terms of
There is a
influence, though,
difference.
Delora, on the culture, I agree with both of those. Because if you think about cultural impact, both of them are significant figures that people do put not only their emotions into for sports and all of that, but also their dollars, right? For
That's
their
true.
products, for
It
their
was a
all the
big
things.
deal when LeBron was called dancing not like us
Like I,
in
I
the epic Kendrick and Drizzy battle. But again, when it comes to this upcoming election, I think it's interesting that a lot of public figures are talking about how they're not going to endorse anyone. And I'm like, okay. Because we talked about this when in our conversation about The Rock.
yep,
And it's like the way
that
he did it
bothered me
was
more.
very much on a, right leaning
Fox News.
platforms. And it just seems very convenient. That's all I have to say to
And
that.
I have not agreed with this stance of I'm just not going to endorse anybody, because for the people who say that and you really don't want Trump to get into office, don't say nothing to me when inevitably it happens because you did not want to be clear about where you stood. Like, there are two options. Two. That's all you got.
Would it be great to have more? Of course. But I do believe we have to work within the parameters that we're dealing with. If we wanted a third party option, they should have been working. They should have been working years ago and would have had to have their name in the conversation.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think we're in agreement for the most part, but I am hopeful that more celebrities come out on the Biden train than I see on the Trump train, but only time will tell as we start getting even closer. Because what is it, May? I know that Angela Rye and all them on their pod always give us a countdown. So I don't know the countdown to the election, but it feels closer and closer every day.
It really is. I'm just trying to get through summer at this rate. Like,
and I'm about to be moving states, so they better not try to suppress my vote, okay? Because they already have been trying in Florida, tell you what. All right, let's move on to our next headline. Kel Mitchell, another Club Shay Shay expose. He basically went on there and spilled all the tea about his previous marriage. He said that his ex-wife cheated and got pregnant by multiple men during their marriage, that he chose to stay to try to work it out for their 2 kids. And I mean, really got into the weeds with it, right? So much so that his daughter has responded, basically calling him a deadbeat dad. His ex-wife has responded to refute it and basically say that, you know, the things that he was saying are not true. And also that he was a deadbeat dad and that there were abuse that went on in their relationship. So I just wanted to make sure I got that correct. I have an article up from Essence. So there's something, again, people can talk all they want about Shannon Sharpe not being a great interviewer. There's something about that space that causes people to, you know, bare their souls. Because this was a lot. I saw so many people in the comments like, there's no way you could get me to divulge this level of detail about my life. Why do you think Kel is being so open about what has happened? And what were your thoughts? I mean, we grew up in the Kenan and Kel era. So what were your thoughts about what he was saying?
In all honesty, I feel like he divulged so much is because, one, Club Shay Shay now is a major platform, especially for comedians, right? And I'm not really aware of any, yes, comedians and athletes. This is like the go-to platform. And I'm not aware of any current or upcoming projects that Kel Mitchell is in. And so what's that old saying? Any news is good news, like as long as people talking, even if it's bad. And this is definitely headline worthy, and we're talking about Kel Mitchell. When was the last time we talked about Kel Mitchell? I can't tell you.
Well, I was going to say, part of me was wondering if he's in this place right now because of the Quiet on the Set documentary and possibly some of the conversations that have come from the revelations of that.
That's interesting.
I finally just watched it. I re-upped on my Max subscription, as expensive as it is. Can't wait for these bundles. And it is hard to sit through and process and digest some of the things that happen to these kids. And so I wonder if it's just putting a lot of them in a space to want to be more honest and vulnerable about their lives. That was one thing I personally was thinking.
That's interesting because he was not on there.
He was not, but he may have had conversations with Keenan and some of the other folks.
Right. I just think this is an opportunity to get his name in the headlines. I think it's interesting because he is telling his truth, which is obviously not to be founded based off of what his ex-wife and child has to say about it. So I don't know, because I know we talk about Shannon Sharpe all the time. His interviews are entertaining, but I don't think he's that great. He ain't Oprah or Barbara.
I think he's had great guests who are great conversationalists and great at
individually
what they are bringing to the table, right? And that does not always require a great interviewer. So yeah, he's definitely been fortunate because, you know, Oprah is in a league of her own, and you don't really have the cachet of those old school journalists like the Barbara Walters and the Diane Sawyers to the same
Yes.
extent that you used to. I mean, because it's so readily available for people to pick up a mic, right? Hence
Yes.
podcasting and all, and
Exactly.
social media journalists, as they call themselves, and all these things. So, yeah, I mean, his platform is going strong though, so no one can deny the bankability of his content. And Kel was another one who gave the internet's plenty to talk about for a couple days. So, who's next? All right, Delora, let's move on to Justin and Hailey Bieber. It's been a couple of weeks since the couple announced that they are expecting their first baby together. You know what I thought when this news came? Like, for some reason, my thought was like, it's about time. I feel like people have been watching their clocks on having a baby for a minute. Like, they got married back in 2018. And so I think people expected them to have a baby like right away. And so the fact that they've been married, for 6 years? Dang, they've been married I never thought they were going to be married for this long. Good for
I will say
y'all.
this. I will say this, Ashley. They were really young, especially her. She's only 27 now. So that means she got married at what, 21?
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess I do understand why people think like when you get married young, you sometimes just pop these babies out. But people like to get married young and be married. We
Yes.
did it. I gave to myself, I'm like 5 years being married before we even think about having babies. And that's because I wanted our relationship.
To
And don't get
grow
me
and
wrong, children,
flourish.
yeah, children are great and they're a blessing. But I wanted us to do some things before we commit our lives to this child.
For sure. And
Like,
add on the fact that they're famous. I mean, Justin is uber famous, right? And
I
like,
mean, tears were shed. I mean, he's already married. Now he got a baby.
yeah.
Woo! These little girls were heartbroken, I'm sure.
And now I want to know what her dad was talking about a few months back, whenever it was, when he was saying, oh, pray for them and stuff. Cause I was like, are they on the brink of divorce? Like, what's happening? But I also have to say, even though I know we should be done with this and we should be over this, I thought of Selena. And I'm like, somebody like, hopefully Benny, is that his name? What's her dude's
Yeah.
name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It didn't sound right coming off my lips right then. Hopefully, Benny is giving her all the things that she needs. And this is not a devastating situation, because I still remember when they first got together, I was definitely in that camp of like, well, that was fast. I have whiplash from this. How could you move on so quickly from a relationship that has, in entertainment consumption, we've been so invested in, between him and Selena? So, but
Yeah, Benny
obviously wishing
Blanco. Did you see
Benny
that clip
Blanco, right?
online where he was like, "Yeah, I'm so ugly that I'm hot," and the one guy was like, "No, no, you're not."
Well, I heard a bit of his interview with Jay Shetty, and he's so like self-deprecating, because Jay, he was like, you're just so handsome, the hair, the eyes, or whatever. And Jay was like, you have all the same things. He was like, yeah, no, no.
He's
Uh,
hella talented though. He's
he's
a
super talented.
megawatt producer who's produced everything from freaking Rihanna to Halsey to
To her
Khalid, like
music, to
to
Selena's
Selena.
music. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he seems lovely. Like, she's been saying that she's never been treated better in her life. And so, looks and aesthetic and who people think people are supposed to be with is not what matters at the end of the day. As long as she's happy and living her best life, I'm happy for her. But I also just wanted to say that I hope that Hailey Bieber has a nice, easy, beautiful pregnancy.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
that
And
stress of being a
hopefully,
public figure, I can't imagine.
girl, exactly. It's a lot. And hopefully Justin is in a better place too. Cause again, I feel like every time he's singing these days, he's looking like he's on the verge of tears or something. Like, I don't know.
And he had recently posted like a photo of him in tears. And so maybe that
Yeah.
was actually tears of happiness.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully.
All right. Wishing you kids all the best. And yes, we can still call y'all kids because we're older than y'all. So let's move
That
on
part.
to our last headline. Jason Momoa is out in these streets with his new boo. Adria Arjona, I believe is how to pronounce her name. I'm looking at E News. This is 3 years after he and Lisa Bonet have split. He has made his relationship official. He had teased it, I guess, about a month or so ago, saying, I'm very much in a relationship. You'll find out very soon. And now we see them booed up together. They were on a trip, and it seems like he's happy and she's happy. So what were your thoughts when you saw this relationship hard launch?
Okay. Is it awful? Like, now that he's not with Lisa Monet, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
You have no investment in his personal life, right?
No, I don't.
People are saying she looks like a young Lisa Bonet, which, okay, if y'all want to say that, Puerto Rican lady is a young Lisa Bonet, sure. I mean, I aesthetically I see a little bit of it, right? And they're both beautiful. But I mean, I'm happy that it seems like, he's moving on, and hopefully Lisa is too. It seems like they had such an amicable split.
Yeah.
That, I'm sure it's for the best. I know people were holding out hope there for a little bit that they would rekindle their relationship, but I mean, do y'all
Right.
think?
It was one of those made to simmer romances that we actually like were excited about, where it didn't seem creepy.
Well,
Like,
especially too, because the way that he talked about, like, she was his like dream girl.
I
And so
know he
whenever
was
you see someone
obsessed.
who lands like
Yes.
that dream person, doesn't usually work out, a la Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise,
Girl.
but you never know. I mean, they did still have 14 years together. So that's beautiful.
And some babies. And
And
she's
some babies.
working with his stepdaughter, Zoe Kravitz, her directorial debut for Blink Twice.
Yeah, and I imagine as beautiful of a co-parenting relationship she has with Lenny, this is not going to be any different. So whatever they put in their water to cultivate these great blended
Wait,
families,
is she and
give it
Zoe
to
the
the rest of
same
us.
age? I'm about to be really messy now because
32, they might be. They
they
might
might
be.
be the same age. Let's see how Zoe
Zoe
is.
might be, is she older than her?
35.
That's what I was gonna say. Zoe might be older than
Zoe
her.
is
Yeah.
older
Yep.
than his current boo. Very interesting.
Yeah, but I mean that was her stepfather, right? It ain't her daddy. So
That's true.
it is what it
Speaking
is.
of her daddy, he is out here working, showing off all the abs.
I just can't believe he really be doing this in leather pants, and like he puts us to shame, mere mortals.
Ashley, he's going to be 60 this month.
I got to get my body together. I got to. I
I
want
think
this
that I think that's part
longevity.
of the reason why he's been out here looking ridiculous, doing the workouts in the leather pants and walking around without a shirt. Or he's typically shirtless, wearing something sheer, or what is
Yep.
it, chains, what do they call that look?
Nipples out.
Nipples are always out, and maybe that's because he's like, I'm about to be 60 years old.
And look at this body, oddy, oddy. Listen, like I said, these celebrities, especially these Black women, are giving me hope. I just got to get my diet together, keep my body together, get my skincare regimen tight, because I want that longevity. I want y'all to see me when I'm 80 and be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
she kept it together. So, goals. All right, Delora, that's it in headlines. Let's move on to these hot topics. So, you are a Benifer fan, and
I was excited. I have since cooled down, like they're together, but it was a moment in that early 2000. You had to be there, folks, where they were red hot in paparazzi.
I mean, thank God your emotions have cooled, because clearly the relationship has cooled as well. All this speculation we've seen over the last couple of weeks about the state of their marriage. How many days since we spotted them together? Their marriage is on the rocks. Ben is living somewhere else. Jen is house shopping for a new place. All this stuff. Allegedly, according to an article by People, their marriage is not in the best place at the moment. They've only been married for less than 2 years after they eloped in Las Vegas and then had a reception in Georgia. JLo has gone so hard with this rekindling of this union. We talked, I don't remember if we
Yes.
talked on mic, we definitely talked off mic about the documentary and
Mm-hmm.
how she took the book that he had created of all the correspondence they had when they were together, put it together for her. She had that sitting down in the studio for everybody to come and see. You know, the biggest difference that I've always noted between the two of them is Ben loves his privacy and JLo loves fame.
Attention.
So
She's a
where is the in
Leo.
between with that? Now, I don't know if that's the cause of their relationship issues right now, but I'm still rooting for them to make this work. What about you?
I am also, simply because it'd be too embarrassing if it did.
I don't even, that's,
I know that sounds awful,
I
but
don't
no,
even
it's
care
like
about that. It's like,
they,
what is Jennifer going to do if this doesn't work?
well, that's what I'm trying to say, individually and as a couple, and especially when they put their love on the screen to be consumed, i.e., her latest vanity project. What was the name of that, Ashley?
I don't remember the name of it, but I just watched the documentary. I didn't watch the fever dream, as you called it.
Oh, yeah, what they
The
said.
greatest love story ever told or never told, maybe
Yes,
something like that.
this is me now. That's what the project was. And yeah, if it doesn't work, then I just think they both need to lie low. You know what
You
I
better
mean?
lay low, Whitney. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
But
No, and I
he looks miserable all the time, and I think part of the misery might not even be her. I think it's the Paps. But again, she's probably calling them. So, like, to your point, what is the happy medium?
I say I don't know what Jennifer is going to do more than Ben, just because I feel like I've heard more of her perspective than I've heard his. She's Jennifer. She will still find another love interest. I'm not saying anything like that, but it's like, to me, this feels like this was a whirlwind, happily ever after, close the book. So when you go into it with that mindset of like, I never thought we were going to get back together. He was the love of my life. What do you do if that ends this time? What do you do? Like, I would be
I think she's a
crushed
hopeless
for her.
romantic, and that's where the hopeless becomes a relevant term. Life and death being in the power of the tongue. I just feel like she gonna have some happily ever after. She could have one of those situations where she's in love with the idea of love, that infatuation phase, right?
Not
Because
the
there's
realities.
exactly the mundane day to day. Who's picking up the kids? Who's taking out the trash? We're together because we together. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she can't just settle into the comfort of the relationship. It's like there has to be a constant spark, you think.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting space to be, because there's a level of comfort that comes with that. With that comfort comes vulnerability. Maybe she's not used to being vulnerable in that way in relationships.
I don't think it's any of those things, honestly. What I really think it is I think that the thing that they thought, the hurdle that they had thought they had gotten past of the our relationship is under such a microscope. I think maybe she thought I'm doing it differently this time, and she's just not. You
Ooh, that's
still made an
true.
album about it. You still
Yeah.
did a video and documentary, or film actually, and documentary about it. Like, you need to live in it and enjoy it for what it is, and not feel the need to prove anything to anybody about how good it is. Like, even Jane Fonda, if you watch the documentary, talks to her about like, Jennifer, this is too much. Like, what are you trying to prove? Like, just enjoy your relationship. You know what I mean? And that's how I
Mm.
felt after I watched it. I was like, girl, just enjoy your man. Like, you ain't got to share the book he made for no. He literally was like, I thought that was gonna be just for her. You know, like, you could tell. He was like, I didn't know, I didn't expect for her to be sharing that. I made that just for her. Like, it's like she's the polar opposite of Beyonce, you know. And you got to find your balance, especially with the partner who is so different from you in that way. So I hope
Mm.
whatever their issues are now, they can figure it out. Y'all in y'all 50s now. Jennifer, it ain't worth it, baby. You ain't got nothing to prove to us. Enjoy your man and live your best life. And Ashanti and Nelly, y'all better hold tight. You hear me? Hold tight. That's all I got. All right, Laura, let's move on to our final hot topic. We got to talk about Diddy. We got to talk about Cassie. We got to talk about this video that came out, followed by an apology, if that's what we want to call it, and the subsequent responses from everyday folks as well as celebrities. So let's start with this video from 2016 that has surfaced of Cassie and Diddy, where Cassie is being physically assaulted and abused by Diddy as she is attempting to flee from him and from their hotel room. This was in the lawsuit that she filed against him. Let's be clear. This was just actual video evidence and proof of one of the claims that was in her lawsuit. Diddy, previous to this, had vehemently denied that any allegations against him had been true, right?
Girl.
So when this video came out, now all of a sudden you finally see the wave of celebrities saying like, oh yeah, that's fucked up. They're distancing themselves from him. Abuse is never okay, yada, yada, yada. So Diddy pops up with a quote unquote apology video looking like a captive in Bali. Somebody said he looked like he out there with Russell. Basically trying to say like, oh, there's no excuse for my actions. I've sought treatment. I've had therapy. I've went to rehab, this and that. I make no excuses. I was in a dark place, the darkest place I've ever been in my life. And, you know, I'm sorry. Cassie's lawyer responds and basically says the following: when Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday, that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false, shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words. He has been accused of sexual assault by multiple women in numerous lawsuits since November of last year, and now there is a new lawsuit that has been filed against him, claiming sexual assault. Delora, we did not talk much about this off mic, so please give me your unabashed opinion that you had when you first saw the video of him assaulting Cassie. I know you didn't need video evidence to believe what she said happened. So what was your feeling when you actually had to witness it?
Okay, I believe I said when we first had this conversation last year when the lawsuit came out and he settled less than 24 hours later, quote, he did that shit. So when I saw that video, I was stunned because of the level of aggression that we saw in the video. Like he was beating her like he was beating on a man who stole something from him. And
or like just so he had no care, consideration, love whatsoever for this thing. Not even a person. He was not treating her like she was a human being.
Not at all. And it was in public. Again, that level of aggression in public spaces says a lot. The fact that this woman was not even wearing shoes, she was trying to get out of that hotel. And again, his arrogance of walking out in that hallway with a freaking towel on and beating her like that, I was disgusted. I was appalled. I was so sad and devastated for Cassie to you know how traumatic that is, and the fact that people like her who experience this level of aggression, this domestic violence, it's very triggering. So it was extremely upsetting for me seeing the video. I will say our over 50 hip hop kings and leaders are very quiet, though. I still have yet to hear them say much. You know what I mean?
There are members of that group who have also been abusive. So
touche.
And they've stuck beside him.
They sure did. So I thought it was over, frankly, with this video coming out, because there was no denying it at this rate. And I was happy that the people who were talking out the side of their mouth talking about, oh, she did all that for a check. No, she did all that because the statute of limitations were up. And I say that to say this quote unquote apology, Who is advising him? First of all, I mean, the audacity, the unmitigated gall it takes to say, oh, I'm going to make a video of myself and put it out for public consumption. Like, it shows me like three things, actually. One, you can't shame the shameless, apparently, because I don't know what the hell that was. That apology was like, sorry, you saw this. Sorry, my hand got caught in the cookie jar.
Yep.
I take full accountability. Sure, I expect you to take full accountability when the statutes of limitations are up and you cannot, be prosecuted for your fucking actions.
Yeah,
Like,
because you
I
sure did
find
pay
it,
$50 million for it initially.
but he should be in jail with what we saw. And
Correct.
he knows he's not going to jail off of that video because of the timing of it. And it also is just sickening to know that $50,000 can keep this type of evidence under wrap.
Oh, I said 50
When
million. Yeah, 50,000. 50 million would be
I don't know.
nice.
Well, he paid Cassie several million.
Yeah, but
So that's
I
why.
misquoted. I said 50 million for the video.
Oh,
50,000 is the correct. Yeah,
right.
you corrected that for me. Yep.
And so I want him to go away. I really
Same.
do. And if it's not because of jail, I hope it's just him in general. Like, again, I told my mom this. I was like, well, maybe he has this much audacity because he's quote unquote allegedly gotten away with murder before. So what is a video of him beating on a woman that's less than half his size, half his age? What is that?
And that apology video still moved the needle with some people that I saw in the comments, right? Some people were like, well, he's apologized. Let's move on. I think some people think they can just run out the clock on things like this because they've seen other people successfully do it. Like if it just isn't acknowledged for a few years, look at Shia LaBeouf. Their Shade Room posted a picture of Shia LaBeouf talking about, look at Shia LaBeouf. And people are like, are we just going to forget what he did to FKA Twigs? Like, I just think that there's a short-term memory that a lot of people have now with public figures and the atrocities they commit. And I think Diddy is hoping to be one of them, but he damn sure is not going to be one of them for me. Like, I didn't need the video to prove what Cassie had said, because to your point, we were on the exact same page. Like, oh, I remember when it came out that it was Cassie. I was like, oh,
Right.
Cassie? I
Right.
believe every word. You know what I'm saying? And so what this did for me, though, is it made me go back and read her entire lawsuit. So that's what I did over the weekend. I read about all the incidents of abuse that she alleged. I read about the freak offs that he essentially forced her to have, which is why sex trafficking was a part of the lawsuit. And it was deeply disturbing, upsetting. When you have a video like this and see somebody would do something like this to someone, to your point, in public, the imagination of what went down in private is
Right.
just unbelievable.
Exactly.
Because you didn't care what any of your neighbors heard. You were
Girl.
throwing glass vases at this woman. I am even more like satisfied to see photos of her with her family now. Like, I was always happy that Cassie had moved on and seemed to have
Yes.
this beautiful relationship, partnership, and family. But it's like now I'm just, my heart bleeds, It's like I'm so
Exactly.
glad that you had this beautiful support system that was able to come into your life after you went through such hell with this man. And I know that Justin's mother has come out and spoken and said some things recently. One of his children's mothers. I know it's been rumored that he was abusive to Kim. Some people even say he may have had a hand in Kim's death. I don't know to what extent any of those rumors are true, but I will say this.
Right.
Diddy is done for me. And if he's not done for you, I think we need to start really having a serious conversation and take a serious look at what we value as a society,
Easy.
because I just don't feel like we can have the excuses anymore of like, James Brown and some of them back in the day when they were abusive. Oh, it was like, we didn't really hear that much about it, or we didn't ever know that much about it. So it's still okay to listen to his music, right? This is not a case of that. This is not an example of that whatsoever. So I hope that y'all let Diddy go ahead and ride on out to wherever the fuck he needs to go. Because I don't want to see or hear from him again.
That bird.
I don't know what else to say.
It's so sad. So sad. And again, this man, who told him that this was a good idea?
He probably consulted with his damn self.
Easy. Probably.
Because people were like, oh, he's going to go into hiding. He ain't never hid. He has been posting with his kids, like as if that's your kids are not going to shield you from the monster that you are. There are serial killers who had families.
Exactly. Had no idea the things that he did. But I don't know, with that type of behavior, I wouldn't be surprised if the kids saw some things too at this rate.
Do you think that not Diddy, do you think 50 Cent is being petty to do a docu-series about Diddy called Diddy Do It or something like that is going to be called, that Netflix won supposedly in a bidding war? Like, is he being serious or is he being petty?
That man is a July Cancer. Absolutely, he's being petty. Like, he does not care. He barely takes care of his older son. Like, his relationship with his older son is atrocious. Okay, so yeah, no, he's being petty.
And that's what I don't like. This is not a joke.
These are not games. People's lives are in the balance.
Cassie is going to live with this. The women he has abused over the years and assaulted over the years will have to live with these scars for the rest of their lives. It's not a joke. So let surviving R. Kelly folks handle this. I don't want to. And it's like,
is it going to be done well?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be out of, I mean, all documentary has a level of bias to it, right? But because that's just human nature. But how serious can we take it?
Do you think that he inevitably is going to get got on some type of charges? Because one of the big things that people were asking is like, why is the video coming out now? Who has leaked it? Some people are saying that the FBI, after their raid, leaked it to media outlets to let it come out. Some people are saying it was people in his circle. Some people are saying Cassie had a copy, what have you. Why do you think the video has come out now? And is he going to ultimately face some type of charges, you think?
I heard the conversation of this leaked after the feds raided his house, and this could just be the first pin of a number of things that are about to drop. And I'm under that understanding. Like, I think there's definitely more coming.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is over.
Well, good riddance. All right, Laura, that's all we got today for our Headlines and Hot Topics episode. What are we going to be recapping for the people for next week?
I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this film to be available on any streaming network service. And it's finally available on Prime. I am talking about the satirical, the phenomenal, the Academy Award winning film American Fiction.
Very exciting. This won the Academy Award for, was it best writing, best screenplay?
Best adapted screenplay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was, trying to think of the best word to use.
It's satire. It was freaking hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was also like relatable. Like, there's a lot about like family dynamics and things like that in it.
Yep.
So, I enjoyed it.
And it's starring the prolific Jeremy Wright, like the incomparable. Like,
talking about character actor. He
falls
into the skin of his characters.
I adore him and his work. Like, he's never disappointed. Knocking on wood, he's never disappointed me, and he has a resume. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the cast was stellar. You had Issa, you had Tracy Ellis Ross, you had Sterling.
My cousin.
It was a stacked cast. So
yeah. I mean,
Erica Alexander.
Girl, Leslie, she's a legend. For one of the first Black women
the mom
in Hollywood. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Doing big things.
It was one that I think everybody should check out for sure. So looking forward to coming back and knocking that recap out, guys. If you have not listened to our In Conversation with Angelina Mitchell, be sure to go back and listen to
Yes.
that. We had such a great time chatting with her. She's doing phenomenal things for Black women in film and entertainment industry. And
She's
it
such a
was,
dynamic young lady
yeah,
doing amazing things.
it was so fruitful as a conversation. So please go back and check that out. We will be back. Please share this episode with everyone you know. We appreciate it. When we return, we'll have more. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.